Hi everyone, Adam Beck here, Managing Director of the Digital Planning Advisory, Neon Urban. Welcome back to Digital in Place, your channel for news and views on all things digital shaping of public places, spaces and infrastructure. So, we're in July, August, right on the cusp. The Productivity Commission has just released its interim report on housing supply regulation, and it's open for submissions until the 30th of September with a final report due first quarter of next year. So today I want to pull out one of the threads that matters enormously for our profession. The Commission has put strategic planning at the centre of the fix for housing. So let's look at what it actually says and what the Planning Institute sees in it, and from there, where I think AI fits in. So let's get into it. So what the Productivity Commission actually found, let me start with the facts. They're kind of a little bit stark. Australia is forecast to undershoot the National Housing Accord target by around about 220,000 or more homes by June 2029. Now, it takes the average household 11 years to save about 20% deposit, up from 8 years in 2005. The Commission sets out 4 best practice principles. They are: adopt a build mindset, only regulate where necessary, coordinate with infrastructure, and keep the process simple. Seems pretty reasonable to me. Its single most important conclusion for the planning profession is this: of all the reform directions, relaxing land use controls would have the greatest effect on supply, and land use reform plus infrastructure coordination will do more than faster approvals alone. This report is very explicit that approval reform on its own will not be sufficient. And so here's the pivot to strategic planning that I want to make. Reform Direction 3.1 calls on the governments to consider infrastructure requirements and development trade-offs early, doing that through strategic planning rather than fighting them out application by application. That means identifying high-demand areas, completing area-wide technical studies for flood, bushfire, biodiversity, and then codifying the results into planning schemes so that individual sites aren't reassessed from scratch. The Commission even names technology directly. Reform Direction 3.4, it calls for greater use of technology, including AI, to help decision makers and applicants understand requirements and spot problems in applications. Seems reasonable. So the Commission has done something useful for us in that regard. It said that strategic planning is the lever and it has opened the door to AI. So what does PIA view as the opportunity here? Well, their evidence is cited all throughout the report. It's welcomed this direction with a clear condition, and that is that well-resourced strategic planning must come first. Up-to-date strategic plans put growth in the right places, coordinate infrastructure, manage hazards, give communities confidence in how their areas will change. Now, PIA supports greater density in well-located areas, but it argues that density decisions should not be made without robust strategic planning, and definitely not treating every neighbourhood as having the same capacity for growth. So, PIA backs removing unnecessary delay while insisting that the goal is better housing outcomes, not speed alone, and that decisions need to be transparent with the proper safeguards. Amen. PIA names a hard truth as well, is that governments at all 3 levels have underinvested in the plans, the infrastructure, and the planning capability needed to turn reform into housing on the ground. This is the opportunity and the gap. The lever is there, it exists, but maybe the machinery behind it is under-resourced. And so this is where I think, in my view, AI can leverage some common goals here. So here's where I land. I want to be precise because not all AI is the same, which I think sometimes it just gets smeared across as a simple AI conversation. So we know that the common goal is shared, good strategic planning, done up front, done with homes on land in the right places. Digital is how we close the capability gap that Pia points to. So let me be specific about which technology potentially helps us with that. So firstly, spatial and predictive analytics, and note, this is not necessarily generative AI, it's modeling. This is what powers Reform Direction 3.1. For example, digital twins and spatial analytics let a jurisdiction run all sorts of different scenarios and what-if questions. Flood, bushfire, biodiversity, and what infrastructure capacity studies across the whole area, potentially in key areas like growth corridors, that can all be done at once. And keep them current as well. This is how we can justify treating places differently, which is exactly what Pia is asking for. Secondly, let's look at generative AI. This is recommendation 3.4. This is a use case that's been done properly. Generative tools can turn codified, deemed to comply planning rules into plain English guidance for applicants and draft first pass assessments against those rules for a planner to check. It handles the language and interpretation, but a human keeps the judgment. That's the human oversight that both the Commission and Pia insist on. Now, the third one here is agentic AI. This is the piece of the report where it gestures but does not name. Agentic systems take multiple step actions across systems with humans at decision points. Okay, they can sequence referrals between agencies, which is precisely the coordination body problem that we see in RD 3.4, and they can monitor whether infrastructure delivery is keeping pace with rezoning under Reform Direction 4.2. It can flag slippage before it stalls a project, like as in the report's own example that's seen at the Tirana estate, which was held up for years by delayed sewerage. So here's the common thread, in my view. The Commission's reforms only work on codified, machine-readable rules. Deemed to comply assessment, AI-assisted approvals, upfront strategic resolution, none of it functions on PDFs. The real task is to digitize the strategic layer first. Do that, and generative and agentic AI have something solid to stand on and work with. If we skip it and we default to blanket upzoning because that's the only move low data systems can make, AI doesn't replace the planner. It gives planners judgment for the evidence, the currency, and the machine readability to actually govern where growth goes. That's how this technology serves the common goal rather than just sort of chasing speed alone. So remember, submissions close on 30th of September. That's really an opportunity for our profession to sort of make the case on how AI and technology can support our housing delivery goals. So I'm Adam Beck from Neon Urban. Thanks for watching this episode of Digital in Place. If anything in this update is of interest, reach out to us at Neon Urban. We'd be happy to help. See you in the next one.